Welcome to Old Fashioned Finance, the podcast that mixes cocktails and high finance. I'm your host, Jason Demland, and I am joined, as always, and in the future, by my good friend and fellow money muddler, Caleb Frankert.
Jason, can a podcast about finance be entertaining?
Not without alcohol.
Well, all right, let's mix it up.
Caleb,
Hey.
how are you, man?
Good. It's really cold outside.
It's cold. It's winter. We're freezing. My fingers hurt.
Yeah. Oh, mine too. I had to put a little bit of air in a tire, and I didn't have gloves, and that was an hour ago.
You know, right now, today, a Christmas gift that my wife gave to me is really paying off, and it was a pair of Duluth Trading gloves.
Oh, yeah.
And they're
those.
extra
They look nice.
large, and I have weird shaped hands. So my palms are really big, and my fingers are pretty long, but they're very, very thin.
Yeah.
They're dainty.
They're dainty.
So those gloves fit pretty good, but they're made for a much bigger man. But
So
I
you're
usually have a hard
swimming
time
in
with
them, huh?
gloves. A little. Just, lengthwise, I'm real good, but width.
The worst thing about nice gloves is when you get nice gloves, you lose them.
I haven't yet. It's
Well,
been
good.
almost 2 weeks, and I am crushing it.
Hey, and other good news, I won a bottle of Pappy.
Yes. In Ohio, listeners and viewers, in Ohio, we have a lottery for allocated bourbons that are really hard to get. Caleb has entered 4 lotteries since he's been hunting bourbon. 4 altogether?
Yes,
He's
4.
won half of the time, which irritates everyone else a lot. This last one was some Pappy.
Yeah. Van Winkle Special Reserve 12 year. So it's not like, the Pappy 23, like the way
Yeah.
up there heavy hitter. I don't know. Some people call it crappy Pappy, but I think it's still Pappy, baby.
It's still Pappy.
And, you get to buy it at sticker price, which is $80. So
Yeah.
it beats the heck out of the $1,800 or $2,400 that it's going for in other states or online to try a little bit of it. There's no way it can live up to expectations, I'm sure.
This is a financial advice podcast.
Yeah, I
You
would
just-
not recommend paying more than... Well, I haven't had it yet. I haven't tasted
Well,
it.
how you
so-
haven't sold it, though, either. And you paid $80 for something you could turn a profit on.
Well, technically, it would be illegal for me to
There it
resell
is. We don't do illegal things.
Also, I look at it this way. I could sell it and make a profit, or I could just say, well, I got a $1,800 bottle of bourbon that was on sale for $80. I just had to win a
There you
lottery
go.
to get it.
And then you can enjoy the bourbon.
I'm excited about it. I think that maybe we'll try that out on the show one of these days.
Hey, all right. I'm on the show usually.
Yeah. So maybe that'll be a good one when all 3 of us are on, because those are always really fun ones. So let's talk just a little bit, set up the episode here today, Jason.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got a drink.
We do?
We've got a finance topic.
As per the usual.
We're going to mix cocktails and high finance today.
That's right. I'm excited to talk about these because this is something I probably wouldn't normally drink, but I've heard of. And we're also talking about financial topics that I hear of all the time that I don't necessarily talk about all the time.
Yeah. It's fun. I think this will be fun.
All
So let's talk just a little bit about the drink. Today, if my wife is listening, we are mixing up her favorite cocktail, the Rum Rickey.
All right.
So is this is a retirement Rumtime
This
episode,
is
right?
retirement rum time. We're talking about retirement.
Yes.
And we got a rum drink.
Yeah,
Rum
we're
Rickey.
going to talk about retirement, and if you've ever browsed Yahoo Finance or CNBC or whatever your financial news source may be, Motley Fool, all those sites, you're bound to a couple of times a year see one of those articles that says how much money should you have saved by your 20s, your 30s, your 40s. All that. There's a new iteration of it every couple
Yeah.
of months, and I always read it.
Well, you're bound to want to know if you're on the right track.
Yeah.
And you're going to run into one of those kinds of articles if you ask the internet, am I doing okay? It's
Yeah.
going to lead you in those directions. So I think it's a great thing to talk about on this show.
Yeah, the latest one that I found was from November or something. I saw it pop up on my Yahoo Finance. I read it and I go, you know what? This would be a fun topic for the podcast. We're going to talk about it, kind of talk about what we like about those kind of articles, what we don't like.
Yeah.
And, hopefully you don't beat yourself up too bad.
Or
reading
if maybe you're crushing it
You
compared
might
to
be.
these newbie goals that they have. So we'll
So
see.
that's what we're going to do today. Why don't we get into the drink recipe, Jason?
All right. Let's mix it up.
All right, the Rum Rickey cocktail. And I know that you've looked at this one, has some history.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't gotten into history on some of the more recent cocktails. been kind of holiday themed. You know, they've just been fun recipes. But this one's got some history. The Rum Rickey. Before we jump into the history part of it, let's talk about what we've got here. Well, we've got rum.
Yes.
And, you know, we haven't tried these yet, but what we made today is 1.5 ounces of light rum. We use just the Bacardi Superior, I think.
Yeah.
We have 1/2 ounce of lime juice. We've got 2 ounces of club soda. And I didn't have any lime wedges.
We should have garnished this with a lime wedge. For those of you viewing at home, it would be a lot prettier with a little lime in there floating.
Yeah. It's not pretty. It looks like cloudy water.
It's all right. I've seen more attractive drinks.
Yeah. We'll take a sip of that here in a little bit, but
Can we do it now?
Yeah, let's take a sip, but save the reaction.
Okay, imbibe. We should cheers. Don't.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers. Good. Now we can drink about it while we talk about it.
Yeah, let's do that. So there's some history to this one, Jason. Why don't you take it away?
I consulted David Wondrich's Imbibe book, and
Great book.
This cocktail does have not controversy. It's pretty straightforward. I guess the controversy would be where exactly it first was made, but Wondrich is pretty clear on where he thinks that is, and most people agree on that. But the Rum Rickey is related to the Gin Rickey, which is an iteration of the Joe Rickey, who is a person. A colonel,
all right,
and a politician who was in the Civil War. He's a Confederate Army guy, not the good side, but he invented a cooler, a type of drink that would be classified as a cooler that he commanded bartenders to make for him all over the place, and Wondrich basically.
He walked into a bar and said, "I'm a veteran, dang it!"
Yeah, pretty much, like I'm a colonel. He went to Hoffman House, Gilsey House, a Broadway hotel called the New York, Joe Chamberlain's in Washington, St. James Hotel in New York, Southern Hotel in St. Louis, and all these places claim to have been where the Joe Rickey or Gin Rickey was created. And Wondrich is like, I have no doubt that Joe Rickey commanded these guys to make him this drink in each of these restaurants. But the main one was do you have it with you? I can't find it. Shoemakers.
Shoemakers
in D.C., which makes a lot of sense.
A resort.
Yes.
Air quotes.
Fancy. So that's basically where it first started. He invented this drink. And this is the kind of drink you would expect there to be some sugar in or some simple syrup. And you will notice that was absent when Caleb described the ingredients. And the reason for that, Joe Rickey says, is that sugar warms the blood. And it's not good for you. This drink cools the blood and therefore is healthful and beneficial to you.
Dr. Colonel Joe Rickey.
He's a colonel, dang it.
I'm a veteran. Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, so that's what I got. Kansas did not like this drink when it came out. He said when in the Kansas City Star in 1890 said, when a Kansas man orders a Joe Rickey, he instructs the barkeeper to leave out the ice, the lime juice, and the soda. Also,
that's
I didn't
a whiskey
say,
neat, right?
Yeah, this is a whiskey neat. It was originally made with whiskey.
Okay,
I don't think I said that. Joe Rickey did have it initially with whiskey, but eventually everybody started using gin instead, and he succumbed to that, and in fact wrote a recipe into the Syracuse Evening Herald to say how to make the official Joe Rickey, and he said whiskey or gin, and the lime juice and carbonated water. Don't drink too much. That was on the recipe.
Yeah, I did a little research on this too, and I saw that this was originally a whiskey drink, whiskey and soda. Yep. And I think one of the stories I read said that one of the bartenders said, "Hey, you ever think about a little bit of lime juice in there?"
Oh, all right.
And it sounds like Colonel Rickey argued with the bartender a little bit, and he made it anyway. And then it had his name on it. But early on, there were some rumblings. The Wikipedia article I read. Yeah, I went real deep. Wikipedia.
Wikipedia probably consulted all the better sources.
Said at the beginning he was unhappy with the drink that had his name on it, and definitely opposed the whole gin thing.
Yeah.
But in the late 1800s, closer to the turn of the century, gin became really, really popular. And I think the whole reason we know about this in the first place is the Gin Rickey became super popular in the 20s.
Huge summer drink.
I think it was in that in the Great Gatsby, maybe even.
I believe
in the book.
It's fun to
really,
say.
really popular during the Roaring 20s. So yeah, interesting. Now, speaking of history, everything that I read said that he met an unfortunate demise.
Yeah. David Wondrich simply says that he had some financial troubles and other troubles. And in 1907 or 1903, early 1900s, he drank some carbonic acid.
Oh, that doesn't sound
and
good.
died. So I don't know what that is, and I didn't want to look it up, but it seems bad for you.
Yeah.
And that's just tragic and sad. Not a very exciting way to end that.
It was sad. It sounds like he was kind of miserable. But, it did lead to the Gin Rickey, which was very popular, like I said, in The Great Gatsby. Actually, it appeared in Chapter 7 of The Great Gatsby.
Cool.
The Glenn Miller Orchestra also recorded a song called The Jukebox Saturday Night. And in the lyrics, there's mopping up soda Rickeys to our heart's delight, dancing to swingaroo quickies, jukebox Saturday night. So it was very popular in the roaring, swinging 20s.
Swingaroo quickies.
Yeah. Hey, I know it's getting time to move on to the finance topic, but the way that I came across the Rum Rickey, I want to say Gin Rickey, is I actually was making mojitos quite a bit. You remember way back, I think it was maybe the first Retirement Rumtime episode we did.
Yes.
And I was making those during the summer, and my wife said, that's pretty good, but it's a little bit sweet.
Mm-hmm.
What if you take out the simple syrup? I said, okay, let's try that. She goes, I like that better. Get rid of the mint, too. And I go, well, now you're not drinking a mojito anymore.
This isn't a mojito.
So she goes, what am I drinking anyway? So I punched those ingredients, basically the rum, the club soda, and lime juice, and Rickey. You're drinking a Rickey of some sort.
That's a Rickey.
So I think that along with, moving from a whiskey Rickey to or the Joe Rickey,
right.
To a Gin Rickey, to a Rum Rickey, you could probably do this with tequila and some other things if you wanted.
Stay in the Rickey family. It's all coolers. They're coolers because there's no sugar.
It's
because they cool the blood, which is beneficial.
Which is better for you. Better than carbonic acid, I think. So, so interesting drink. Not a lot of ingredients. I think you could take your liquor of choice, except for vodka, because vodka sucks. And make a Rickey of some sort. I don't know. Liquor of choice, lime juice, club soda. You got yourself a Rickey.
I'd like to try a whiskey Rickey, Joe Rickey, after trying this. And I don't think I've had a Gin Rickey either. So we might as well do it. But what do you think about the Rum Rickey, Caleb?
I did have a Gin Rickey at home while I was trying this stuff out. I like the Rum Rickey. I think it's pretty refreshing. And rum is one of those liquors or spirits that is really, it's very non-intrusive.
Yeah.
It's
pleasant.
I mean, it goes down pretty quick.
We don't drink enough rum.
We really don't.
Therefore, we don't do enough retirement rum times. We need more retirement topics.
These are fun, always fun episodes. Yeah, I like it. It's refreshing. It would be really good in the summertime, I think.
I'd add this to the list of rum-based drinks that I would like to try
more
often or have more often in the summer. It's weird on this single-digit day with sub-zero wind chills to have.
Yeah.
But, it's still good. It's cool in my blood, which is making my hands very, very cold.
But it's good for you, so... Let's talk about this article a little bit. If you've read one, you've kind of read them all.
Yeah.
But it's one of those, hey, by the age of 30, how much should I have? By the age of 40, how much should I have? Just to make sure that you're on track.
Yeah.
The article that I'm referring to actually was on, I think it was on CNBC's website. It was basically taking some numbers from Fidelity and saying, okay, well, according to what Fidelity's saying, this is really where you should be. We got to give credit to the person who wrote the article. They kind of quoted a lot of other information. So her name's Elizabeth Gravier, I think. This was an article from November 3rd, 2020. It could be.
Elizabeth Gravier.
Probably.
Yeah, that's fancy.
So this was November 3rd, 2021. If you want to find the article on CNBC, you can. But really, if you're trying to find an article similar to this, you won't have any trouble finding it.
Yeah,
so Jason...
a dime a dozen.
How do you feel about these types of articles in the first place? I always click on it whenever I see the link.
They're great. I want to see what people are going to say. I want to know. I, like everyone else, want to know if I am on the right track personally. Sure. They're satisfying in that they exist, but mostly they are unsatisfying because they give there's no nuance. There are so many variables to this. You cannot give an answer about how much money everyone should have by the time they're 30 to be okay. So as long as you know that this is a generalization, then I guess they're fun. they're still not very helpful, I don't think.
They're fun. They can be kind of a goal, I guess. I mean, I read it every time I see an updated article. I think that, there's some good and bad to it. I like anything that's just basically throwing a rule of thumb out there. What you got to be careful of. This is not necessarily a hard and fast rule for your life, for your finances, because, like we say so often, well, it depends. It depends on a lot of different variables, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, these articles are fun. And you might love these articles then. You might find that you're way behind and you hate these stupid articles in the first place. But again, I think the big thing is you got to make sure you're saving and you're investing.
Yeah.
You should have something, probably.
We'll talk about there's better things probably after we go through these.
Maybe a better barometer. Let's get right into the numbers based on this article.
I'm interested.
They really, all these articles seem to skip over your 20s because they realize that you're probably just paying off student loans and trying to find a job and get out of your parents' basement. And you probably aren't going to have anything saved. I would say in general, when we meet with folks, if you've got a retirement savings in your 20s, you're probably ahead of most.
You're way ahead of this.
But age of 30, okay? This article, and like a lot of them, basically says that you should have the equivalent of your current annual salary saved by age 30. So at the end of your 20s, after you've bought a house maybe or gotten married, I don't know, those things seem to be happening a lot later.
They definitely are.
Gotten a big kid job, those types of things. You should have 1 year's worth of salary saved in a retirement account. So by... an example, if you're making $55,000 a year by age 30, they're saying you should have $55,000 saved.
Sure, why not?
All right,
sounds good.
Yeah, that sounds good. How often do we see a 30-year-old with their salary saved?
I don't know. I think we probably have selection bias because the people that come to us are usually savers. It's not that common.
I would say, but we've both worked at different firms in the past, at the bank and things like that. What I think is we either meet people at age 30 who have nothing but debt.
That's not really just age 30, though. That's most ages.
Well, that's a good point. I feel like at age 30, there's either nothing or maybe even over this.
Yeah.
So again, this is just kind of on average. But yeah, one-time salary by age of 30, I don't know. You still have a lot of time to really... create some damage, wreak some havoc.
Not if you want to retire at 35.
30. Well, that's true. Age 40, though, so 10 years after the fact, they say you ought to have 3 times your annual income. So $55,000 would be $165,000. Is that right?
Yeah, close enough.
Okay, by age 40, we're just basing it off this article, $55,000. And what do you think about that one, Jason?
I don't know. It's all right, I guess. I suppose 3 times your income. Let's just say you make $100,000 a year when you're 40. You need $300,000. Why not?
Sounds good, right? By age 50, they say you should have 6 times your income.
Okay.
All right. So I'm not going to do the math there. 330,000.
Let's do $100,000 you make when you're 50. That's what I choose to do. So $600,000 at $100,000 a year salary. You're getting no raises from 40 to 70.
Right. That's the big thing. So these numbers should be going up exponentially because you ought to be getting raises from, let's see, age 30 to age 67.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Otherwise, you probably picked the wrong career. So age 60, they say 8 times your income. And by age 67, which right now, I guess they're using that number because that's full retirement age for a lot of folks.
Full Social Security retirement age, yeah.
10 times your income at that point.
You need 10 times your income at age 67 to retire.
Who says that?
Nobody. No. I just said it with a Tennessee twang.
Oh, okay. I
For
was
no reason.
Say, I don't remember that, but I guess I don't listen every day.
No reason.
Okay. What are you? Let's talk about it. What are your thoughts on this in general? I guess, is this helpful at all?
I would love to see the math behind all of this. What's the data that led to this conclusion? So here, I
don't know. You never see it in these articles.
Get perturbed because we do this for individuals, for families, often. And there are so many different inputs and so many different outputs to be able to just give a guess. And it's still just a guess.
Yeah.
Because of the amount of variables on if you're going to have enough money to retire.
Let's talk about those variables. What are some of the variables?
The biggest ones are your current income, your expenses for the rest of your life, what they're going to be. You don't know that, but if we did, that would help us. And when you're going to die.
Well, that's a big one.
Those are huge expenses, and when you're going to die, I always joke with people, it's like, I can give you a perfect plan if I know what all of your expenses are going to be and when you're going to die. I can figure this up, and it will be pretty dang perfect.
I always tell people, if you have an expiration date printed on you somewhere, this is going to be easy.
Yeah.
We got this.
But aside from just that, it's lifestyle, what you value. How much do you want to give away? How much do you want to leave to your kids? How much do you want to spend on your house? Are you going to move? Are you going to sell your house? Like, there are too many variables to even count.
Yeah.
So that's why these numbers are just ridiculously useless.
So I think that there can be here's where I think that there's a benefit possibly to this. It gets you thinking about things.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because how many times do we talk to folks who go, I don't know, I'm putting some money away. I hope I'm doing okay. I think I'm doing all right. I hope.
So
I don't
they're
know.
like,
Am I doing okay?
You should have $50,000.
Hold on, let me dust off this article.
You just get that out, like, well, you should have this much, and then it gets them going, dang, I don't have enough. That makes me think we have a friend who is doing an insane diet to get some better blood work, right?
Yeah.
And he's like,
it's like he's cramming for a test.
it is. But I was talking to him, and I was like, so what's your goal? And he's like, well, I pushed my doctor, like, how many calories should I eat? And he said the doctor just got fed up and was like, you really want to know? 800. 800 is your number.
Oh, the doctor told him
yeah,
that?
I'm like, that's a ridiculous number. And he said it just to make him start thinking, like, wow, this is a big issue.
Yeah.
I need to starve.
There's
basically.
a bigger problem here.
Yeah.
Than just
So,
cutting a few things
for
out.
that for that reason, to get you to think about it, though I think it's a very charitable and generous thought process that gets you to think, yeah, this is helpful. Maybe there is some benefit to that, because you actually think I'm ahead. But on the flip side, there's some danger there. Thinking that you're fine if you have $300,000 when you're 40 for no good reason. Like, that might not be enough at all.
The other thing is, let's say you're age 40 and you've got 3 times your income saved. You say, congratulations, I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
Well, the next check-in is at age 50. What do you got to do if this is set in stone? This is a rule of thumb.
Yeah.
But what do you got to do to get from 3 to 6 times? Like, what? There's no instruction. There's no, okay,
Well,
now
according
you
to
need
the
to be
rule of
doing this.
72, if you're invested a well-diversified portfolio that's returning another 7%, in 10 years, you should be able to double your money.
double. Yeah.
Doesn't everybody know that?
Well, okay, yeah, but what the variable we're not taking into account here is additions.
Oh.
Right? So I'm saying they're not.
I did not
showing,
take that
They're
into
not. They're
account.
not showing the blueprint there.
No, they're not.
Right. In 10 years, you need to triple your money. You need to. Right.
Yeah.
And then what I think is strange is you go from age 50, 6 times your income, right, which is double what you needed at age 40, according to this, 3 times. You go 10 more years out, age 60, you ought to have 8 times. That doesn't make sense to me. The math on that doesn't make sense at all.
There's probably compounding something.
It seems like you ought to be able to do better than that.
I think that they are rules of thumb, because they're probably using the old adage of or the old thought process of income now equating income in retirement, what you'll need to spend, and then reducing it by a factor that Social Security replaces, and the average pension, all that stuff.
So
that they
there's
throw in
another
there.
thing, another variable that we didn't talk about. There's a lot of variables we didn't talk about, but one being how do you know how much income you can generate? And we look at our clients' portfolios where we are generating income, and we know roughly how much we can reasonably in our forecasts distribute, how much income we can generate from a portfolio. But that number isn't necessarily going to be the same, 10 years down the road. We don't know. It's something that's always changing. So again, these are projections. They're rules of thumb. Some of them I don't think are very well thought out at all. Something it doesn't talk about at all in these articles is another variable that I think, especially in your 20s and 30s and 40s, how much debt you have is really important in this whole mix.
I was going
right?
to say, so Caleb, what are the most important things to know? We've got these numbers; they're okay. Knowing your amount of debt, that should be 0. And I don't even want to put like an age on it. I want to say
as soon as possible.
This is
ASAP
retirement.
as possible.
Yeah, ASAP as possible. This is
Michael
retirement rum time. Your retirement date is fluid, especially nowadays. Lots of millennial aged people, Gen Xers, are saying, "Why do I work until 60 or 65? Yeah, I get it. I get Medicare at 65 or more Social Security. But what if I What if I don't wait until then to do what I really want to do? And if that's the case, you've got an earlier time horizon, you probably do need to save more. The number one place to go is zero debt. You should have zero debt. That's the best number to have.
Well, this is a retirement Rumtime episode. Going back to one of our previous episodes, we talked about maybe 5 things you must do before retiring, and getting out of debt was the first thing that we talked about.
It is.
It's so much easier when you take that variable out of the mix, especially if you've got adjustable rate debt.
Oh, that's horrible.
Credit cards, arms on your mortgage, things like that. That's a huge variable in all of this. Yeah, I mean, if you can get to retirement with no debt, we can work with that. It comes down to budgeting at that point. Do you remember those old, I think it was ING commercials, so ING is now Voya, whatever. We don't have to talk about them.
It's something else now, too.
But do you remember the What's Your Number commercials?
Oh, yeah.
That's what these articles remind me of.
Yeah.
What's your number? And that was a pretty powerful ad campaign, because I can remember for years clients asking me, hey, help me figure out my number. I just need to know what to get.
Lots of people do that. The Dave Ramsey group was doing the retirement quotient or whatever. You had a bunch of inputs, and then they threw you need this much money to retire.
Yeah. So let's lump that in with these types of articles. Are they valuable? Sure, there's some value to it. It gets you thinking about things. What it's not taking into account, in my opinion, is behaviors. Behaviors, right? It doesn't focus on behaviors at all. What you're basically looking at is, well, how do I get to this magic number, and then retirement takes care of itself. Well, not if you're a crazy spender, not if you can't budget.
Well, and even that, it's usually based on expenses that you put in. Well, I'm spending $4,000 a month right now.
Right.
Fine, but you know how many changes are going to happen over your lifetime, and the inflation rate on medical expenses?
Yeah.
Let alone other things that regular, not high finance people don't necessarily always think about.
You know, another thing we're not taking into account here is our self-employed folks, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I know I talk to a lot of folks in that space who say, hey, look, I guess I don't have a big fat 401k, but I've got this valuable business that I've built
That's
too.
Producing income and may continue to for the rest of their lives, or that they can sell.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that they're not really taking into account here. Let's talk real quick. So these, maybe they're helpful. They get the conversation started. They get you thinking about things a little bit. What are some things that you think are a better barometer for really gauging where you're at?
That's what I was saying. Getting out of debt is a way better barometer. Knowing your expenses is a way better barometer.
Being able to actually project your expenses.
Yeah. And then actually being able to calculate an expected income, which would be an expected rate of return on the assets that you have. So whether that's from selling it, whether that's from annuitizing it, whether that's from living off of dividends and interest, there's lots of different ways to do it, but you have to be able to calculate it.
Yeah. So fun articles. I guess it's okay. It gets the conversation going. It should lead to a conversation with your financial planner to help make sure you're on
we're
track.
really biased. I think you should talk to somebody who nerds out about this stuff. We would love to talk to people about this. It's what we talk about every day. It's
what
fun.
we do. Well, Jason, I think that was fun, just like the article is fun, but it's time to close out the tab. So thanks for having a drink with us this week, folks. It's time to close out the tab. If you have a question or a topic you want addressed on the Old Fashioned Finance podcast, be sure to email us at speakeasy@oldfashionedfinance.com. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to share the show with someone you love or someone who needs a little money muddling themselves. You can stay up to date with all of the latest action by following us on Facebook and Instagram. Old Fashioned Finance is brought to you by Blue Jay Financial Group, that's bluejayfg.com, and produced by Podastery Studios. We've been your hosts, Jason and Caleb.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
Blue Jay Financial Group, LLC, Blue Jay, is a registered investment advisor registered with the state of Ohio. Registration does not imply a certain level of skill or training. The presence of this advertisement on this podcast shall not be directly or indirectly interpreted as a solicitation of investment advisory services to persons of another jurisdiction unless otherwise permitted by statute. Follow-up or individualized responses to consumers in a particular state by Blue Jay in the rendering of personalized investment advice for compensation shall not be made without first complying with jurisdiction requirements or pursuant to an applicable state exemption. All verbal and written content on this presentation is for information purposes only. Opinions expressed herein are solely those of Blue Jay, unless otherwise specifically cited. Material presented is believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations are made by our firm as to other parties' informational accuracy or completeness. All information or ideas provided should be discussed in detail with an advisor, accountant, or legal counsel prior to implementation.